that button, I think,
Do
and
it.
I think that button. No, not yet. Oh, let's get rid of
What?
that. There we go. There we go. Hello, friends. Hello, brothers. Welcome to the Masonic Improvement Entertainment Hour.
What up? What up? Let
Let's
me
fix that.
fold my hair back there. My my carpet, my rug. Just kidding. Mine is all natural.
Naturally came
So
from a animal you found.
yeah,
It's a natural rug.
it's all natural wildebeest, man.
We're good now. Hello, everybody. Man, we got quite a bit of conversation going on here.
Nice, nice. Let's answer some questions tonight. Just
Okay.
so that buyer beware though. I'm gonna tell you, I've been watching Old Dads on Netflix, and I may not be as politically correct as you want me
Old
to be tonight.
dads, dude. I'm
Yes, I
I'm
love
I'm
it.
kind of past Masonically politically correct. I'm past that point. Uh, getting us banned off YouTube. I'm not really for that yet. So, okay, you can say
Right.
whatever you want Masonically, but everything else, I'm kind of like, eh. But yeah, yeah. So if anyone has any questions, looks like most of the people right now are inner circle. But
Well,
if anyone
cool.
has any questions, it doesn't matter if they're inner circle or not. Feel free to ask, and we will. I'll answer wisely, and Dennis will answer like a. What'd you say that show
Truthfully,
was? Like what'd you say that show was?
Old
Like
Dad
he'll answer like an old dad. There we go.
from the '80s. It's so funny. There's this one part where he just comes out and explodes on his wife or whatever in the middle of this big party or whatever, and and somebody in the background goes boomer, and I'm thinking that's freaking Justin. Oh my gosh! And he looked over and he goes, "I'm an Xer," and it's like, yes, yes,
That's funny because
we have our place in this
I
world.
saw a comment on Mesas of Texas, and it was such a boomer comment, but he clarified that just opinion of a boomer, and it's like you didn't have to say you're a boomer. You
That's
had to
funny.
say it. I didn't disagree with what he said, but it's like you didn't have to say you're a boomer.
Well,
Hello,
what's
Roland.
funny
Roland
is,
says his first time
you know,
watching. Welcome, Roland. We are glad to
hey,
have you.
Roland,
If you have any
how you
questions,
doing,
feel
man?
free to ask. We are.
What's funny is that, you know, I'm laughing at you because, that you're such a millennial, and that's what this was all about, is how socially correct everyone is and this and that, being sensitive to all things. The party was a fundraiser, and it was a no theme party,
Mhm.
and everybody was so happy because this they called him privileged white male. Who could have thought that a privileged white male could encapsulate all that was important in the millennial's life with a no theme party, so it doesn't discriminate against any gender, race, or whatever.
Mm.
It's just a hilarious movie. I love it.
What'd you watch that on?
It's on Netflix. It's called Old Dads.
Old Dads.
So I mean, it's me because I'm an old dad. I'm 51 or whatever, and have an 8-year-old child, and that's me. And I'm an Xer. I'm a product of the '80s, which is just freaking awesome.
David
Some things should
David
have been left in
says
the
David
'80s,
says we go
but
after
not
the
me.
David Lawson. He says we go after the boomers all the time. Well,
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
fair, we go after the boomers, but I also go after the Xers, and he goes after the millennials. So we kind of hit on everybody, I think.
it's all about balance,
So
man.
balance, man, yin and
We,
yang.
we, we gotta find our balance. Let me get completely in the screen.
Yeah, gotta have that balance. But anyway, so I was telling you before we went live. This Saturday, I'm going to go and receive my
Oh shoot!
my what?
I almost dropped my guitar.
Oh, we're gonna
It's all
go.
about balance.
We're gonna go. I'm gonna go and get my last. Not my last, but I'm gonna go finish my Scottish Rite degrees. It's on
Good.
Saturday,
You
so
need to, so you can be more intellectually equipped to be on this show.
yeah. Charles Smith says, Justin Dennis. First of all, I really admire all the work Justin does and appreciate Dennis just for moral support. But he also says, no, I added that part. But he says, Roland is my brother-in-law.
I love it.
He's also the man responsible for for us getting into masonry. Blame him. Well, I'm glad you're
Roland.
tonight.
I'm glad you're here, brother. That is awesome. You got some good men in.
This Saturday you have Scottish Rite. Yeah, I got the same degrees you do. Well, take that back. I got to show up in the morning. But yeah, mostly I got most of the same degrees. Hey, I had a wedding I had to go to. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Whatever. Such a millennial. Always up with the excuses.
Well,
gotta be correct. Gotta show up to the wedding.
I'm a man of my word. If I say I'm going to do it,
man. So, yeah. Speaking of, dude, I am so sad and embarrassed. I was supposed to go to Arkansas this weekend, and I really am not the Xer I thought I was. So, I was supposed to go to Arkansas to the Albert Pike Temple for their Scottish Rite reunion and visit with some brothers who are near and dear to my heart, including my good friend Lucas Menton, and he's one of my close friends, and I love him.
He gave a great talk at our summit.
Yes, he did. Grand Senior Deacon of Arkansas. And then also Bradley Kohanke, who has recently transplanted to Arkansas and is...
He also gave a great talk at our summit.
Yes, he did. But anyways, I was supposed to go there this weekend. And so I get this invitation in the mail. And I wish I had I do. I'm not going to show who it's from or whatever. But... you know, when you invite someone to a lodge, this is how you do it, man. Wax seal.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you do it. When you invite someone to an event, that's how you invite somebody.
Or even
that's for all the millennials out there that only message people. Oh, and some of the Xers that actually only message people. Jason Reichenberg.
I got something. It was from one of my lodges. Maybe it was from... I don't remember who it was from. I want to say it might have been from... It didn't matter. But anyway, it was... There's 2 times in my Masonic career I've got a letter with a wax seal, and I've kept both of those. Just because it's cool. The wax seal was cool.
Yeah.
So
I can tell you I have wax seal sets, and when I want to get somebody's attention, that's what I do. When it's special, that's what I do.
And quality paper.
Yes.
Quality paper and a wax seal and demands respect.
Yes, absolutely. It's just like the paper I use for all my presentations. Actually, I use it for everything. I use thick paper. I don't use that thin crap that's cheapest to buy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I buy thick paper, not this thick. I buy thick paper that it's real paper. It's serious paper.
Yeah.
It means that whatever it is, it's important to me. So I write all my presentations on that and all that kind of stuff because the lodges, oftentimes the secretaries want to put it in with the minutes. So I want it to be nice, so they know that I care about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing with invitations and stuff like that. Cardstock, man. Cardstock, different colored envelopes, wax seals. Mm-hmm. It all makes a difference. Yeah. It all makes a difference. The type of font you use, everything matters.
Well, it was like someone was saying, I think it was at OLT, they were talking, it was a secretary, they talked about when they send out dues notices, they use a different color paper. Yeah. Do you remember hearing about that?
Well, yeah, it causes, it gives, it makes it look special and important.
Yeah, yeah.
People will look. But you stopped my story, so you need to wait until I finish my story.
Oh, okay.
It's me losing my edge is what it is. Me losing my edge. So I planned this event a year ago, and at the time I thought that this was true, but since then it changed. Originally I was asked if I would come and speak up there, and then I don't even know why I ended up not. But anyways,
Talking about the Albert Pike Temple.
but yeah, but then but that's what I told my wife, right? So I'm definitely going, right? And she's fully behind it. If a lodge needs me or whatever, man, I am blessed. My wife is down. She knows that if brother needs me, I'm going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that aside, back then it was all about me going and speaking and whatnot, and then and then I ended up not, and so I get this invitation, and I never told my wife that I wasn't speaking. So I get this invitation in the mail, and it's for the same date. And it's like, well, I got this invitation. I could go since I'm not speaking anymore. And oh man, you would have thought the world ended. She immediately dropped the hammer. Said, "That's our niece's wedding day."
Oh.
Guess where I'm going this weekend?
Wah, wah, wah. To the lodge.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Yeah.
I felt bad
But
because. Go ahead. Sorry, thought you were done.
But yeah, I lost my edge. I just can't. So I'm going to a wedding.
What's up, Zach Smith? Welcome. No, I went to a lodge. I went to a state meeting in one of my districts last week, and I believe it was Tuesday. And as soon as I get there, I get a text message from one of our inner circle, and I was supposed to go talk at their chapter council, and it's on my schedule for the 14th of next month. And I get there, he's like, "Hey, you gonna make it?" And I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I looked at my calendar. There's nothing on my calendar or anything, and it was clearly like a mistake on I don't know whose part it was, but I had it scheduled for next month.
It was yours if you put it in wrong.
Well,
Obviously.
it did still fall on their meeting for that month. So I think it was just I think we just had some cross wires somewhere. But yeah, so I felt really bad about that because he's been a very active participant of our inner circle. But can't really.
Yeah, so you're gonna bail on them?
Yeah,
Man,
totally.
that sucks.
Yeah.
That's good for marketing. I'm going to tell you, that's good for marketing. Now, brothers, if you ask me, I'll be there. I'll be there unless it's a wedding.
I'm always there unless there's a miscommunication somewhere. But I did feel terrible.
I checked
about it, even though technically it wasn't my fault, but I did feel terrible about it.
I check my calendars weekly because I forget on the promises that I've made. And I have presentations pretty regularly. I just did the one at Nat Washer Lodge. Brothers, if you have never been to Nat Washer Lodge in San Antonio, it is awesome. It's an old mansion from an old doctor. And back then, doctors would practice in their lodge. I mean, not in their lodge, in their houses. And early 1900s is what we're talking about. And so that place is known to be haunted. Mm-hmm. They've even had like a haunted crew out coming and doing the seismic tests and all that kind of stuff, doing the Ghostbusters thing, and said that there was activity, not seismic tests, it's whatever test they are, but they said that there's definitely activity there or whatever. So I'm inside this thing, and I'm taking pictures of the lodge while everybody's downstairs, and I am not joking. I'm sitting there taking I'm taking pictures of the lodge, and I hear somebody in the room, the foyer right next to the lodge, behind the door from me, and I open the door ready to say, "Oh, I'm just taking pictures," and I open the door, and nobody is on the second floor. It's just me.
So you're in the lodge?
I was inside the lodge. Everybody else was downstairs.
And you heard someone outside the door to the lodge?
Yes.
That's where they always say
and that is,
the ghost, they'll be in the lodge, and the junior deacon will hear someone come up to the door. I'm telling you something you already know, but
Right,
they'll hear
right.
someone come up to the door, just like what you described. That's what's so crazy. And
I
they'll
know,
check
I
the door.
know.
There's nobody there. That's crazy. I
Yes,
watched
yes. So, anyways,
sorry, I'm
that was
interrupting your
awesome.
story again.
That was an awesome experience. Go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I watched a live stream. I think it was a ghost hunt there. Like I think it's probably the one you're talking about. And they were in the basement of that place, or it looked like the basement. And it's like
Yes,
there is no
yes.
way. I've done ghost hunts before, and there's no way I'd go in that basement. Like I could tell from the video. It's like no, no, no,
What's
no.
crazy is this is a lodge and I'm not joking. In the basement, they have a box of toys, a box of old toys. That one of the brothers said that they were going to do some repair work, and they both went into the basement. And one of the brothers ran outside and said, "I'm not going back in." And the other brother looked over, and all the toys were outside of the box.
Mm.
Yeah.
Pass. That's a pass on.
Yeah,
Yikes.
that was, man, that gets me excited. I want to be in lodge there. I want to do a candlelight lodge there.
Oh yeah. Um,
Mm.
Brad. I don't know your last name, Brad, but he says the 13th MWSA is forming new this year. He's the interim president, and they are having Brother Chuck Springer educate them on the white leather apron. Very cool.
Very
What
cool.
are the dates for that, Brad? That's interesting.
Congratulations,
James
Father.
Williams says, "Hi, brothers, from the 104 Corinthians, Stratford, Connecticut." And
Wonderful.
Roland Bonnet
Awesome.
says, "Just want to say congratulations to Charles on his Golden Trial Award." Talking about,
Yes.
so Charles Smith,
Talk about earned.
Charles.
Charles Smith.
Well, congratulations, man. That's a big deal. It's a big
Yes.
deal.
And it's well deserved. I can assure you.
Here's mine, right here. Of course, it's actually my granddad's. But
I was gonna say, like,
yeah.
anybody cares enough about you to give you a golden trowel.
Yeah. I won't go into that.
You
but
just
yeah.
got into the Scottish Rite. You're just getting into the deep pool. You know, you're just getting out of the kiddie water.
It's my
How
own
come you have
fault.
a
It's my own
golden
fault for
trowel?
not doing Scottish right.
That's right.
Let's
That's
see.
right.
Oh, they meet Saturday morning at 9 a.m. in Rockwall at East Trinity. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and definitely
Cool.
congratulations, Charles. That's really cool. I'm very.
I used to have a buddy that lives at not at the Rockwall Airport, but if you know where the little planes are, that little airport right there, you might even know him. Bob Chambers used to live there. He bought and sold aircraft. He had the coolest house in the world. He built a 2-story house inside his hangar.
Mm-hmm.
So it just looks like a metal shed outside, but on the inside, it's a full house downstairs and a full house upstairs with kitchen and everything. One of the best ideas I've ever seen in my life.
There's one just like
If you want
that.
to evade taxes, that's how you do it.
There's one just like that not far from where I live, between Grandview and Maypearl, Texas. Like right in the middle. But it looks like a hangar, and every once in a while, like the whole side of the building opens up, and you can see the planes. But it's also his house.
Yeah.
Like the front part is the house. You can
Right.
totally drive by. So
Yep.
definitely very cool.
Yeah. He
David,
tried to hire me
who tried to hire you?
as Bob Chambers. He tried to hire me as a plane salesman, and I was going to be in charge of the southern hemisphere of the Americas. He wanted me to sell planes for him.
Wow. That'd have been cool.
Yeah, but I ended up not. My ex-wife didn't want me to be gone, so
Okay.
yeah. Another missed opportunity. Thank you.
David Lawson says, Justin, you have to do a few fish fries to get yours. I will probably never get one at that point. Just saying.
That's funny. That's
Some
funny.
things I don't mind.
That's
not
what it
getting
requires.
Yeah. We did have a question. Oh, here it is. Charles Smith says, between now and Grand Lodge, what events are y'all looking forward to? Dennis, what events are you
Good
looking forward
question.
to?
I've got a couple of cool ones that are coming up. I've got a presentation I'm going to be giving in oh my gosh, I just lost my thoughts. Dang it. In December, I'm giving 2 presentations. One of them is for the AMD Council, my AMD Council, and it's and it's about well, the topic is called "Let It Burn," or no, we are going to burn. We are going to burn, and I can't wait because it's all about the the philosopher's plane, and so it's being that we're our AMD council is called Manly P Hall Council 373. This is one of the topics of Manly P Hall, and this is what I'm going to be speaking on, which is very awesome.
Charles Smith
And
says,
then,
of course, Dennis is excited about his own event.
well, yes, but now here's another one that's coming up, which is not my own event, but I will be there, and I'm so excited about it. And it's close enough y'all could go too, actually, Charles. I'm going to El Paso and over into Mexico on November 4th, or actually the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of November. There's a get together. It's the binational. It's another binational conference, and it's going to have representatives from New Mexico, Texas, and Mexico. And it's several of the Grand Lodges of Mexico are getting together. I think there's 12 different Grand Lodges that'll be represented, Grand Representatives. And so I'll be over there visiting with all those Grand Masters and brothers from and Grand Masters from New Mexico and brothers from Texas as well. So it's going to be a really good time. We're going to go do some stuff in the desert that would scare a lot of people, but I'm so excited about.
Right through the desert on a horse with no name?
Yeah, in Mexico.
There you go.
What happens in Mexico, right? But yeah, that's going to be an awesome time. That's going to be an awesome time. They always have really cool events for the wives. The representatives from Mexico come and meet us at the border and carry us over. It's very secure for us, and it's always a cool time going over and visiting the brothers over there. I love our Mexican brothers, and can't say can't express how excited I am about that. That's one of my very favorites.
That's good. Good answer. Anything else?
Well, one cool thing that's going to happen next weekend, I won't be there, but at our Scare on the Square in Goliad, we actually have an old school town square, and our lodge is on the corner of that square, but they close off the whole town square for events throughout the year, like at Christmas and Halloween and stuff like that. So we have the Scare on the Square coming up, and my lodge is putting on a scavenger hunt for people at the Scare on the Square, so they can pick up a thing and follow the clues and see all these different brothers that'll be placed around the square in different places and follow this little scavenger hunt to get a gift at the end. I think that's awesome. I think that is totally awesome.
Sounds awesome, man. What's up, Kadeem? Yeah. What's up, my brother? Well, I'm looking forward to finishing my Scottish Rite journey on Saturday and getting my 32nd. That's going to be awesome. And then the other thing I'm looking forward to is not really an event, and I don't have a date for it, but I'm looking forward to hopefully learning about the conclusion of certain charges that are filed against somebody here in Texas. And seeing how that goes. Yeah. That's something I'm looking forward to also.
That should be coming up soon.
I hope so.
That should be happening within November.
It's what's funny is you talked about the you mentioned burning it down, and every time I talk about it, I think of there's a song by, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, Dennis, but it's a song by Linkin Park. It goes sings about building it up to burn it back down. So. I don't know why it brings it to mind, but so I'm looking forward to learning how that concludes.
It's going to be an amazing January, I can tell you. There are people coming out of the woodworks. I get so many calls and texts every day on where to stay and where to park, what to do, what all is exciting once we get there, because we're going to need to blow off some steam after some events, and it's going to be exciting. And yeah,
So the
there's going to
roots
be
and the
some
backyard
serious.
are going to be packed.
Yes, there's going to be some serious numbers
Mhm.
at this Grand Lodge. I am so excited to see that.
Yeah.
It's sad that it's under these circumstances, but I'm excited to see more brothers go, and I'm telling you, if you are scheduling to go, make sure you're staying through Saturday, through the installation.
Yeah, especially
Because
this time.
Yeah, because business can occur all the way up to that point. Until they close Grand Lodge, business can occur. And a lot of times they sneak stuff in during that time when everybody else has already left.
Like we saw in
So,
January.
no matter what happens, stay through installation and the close of business.
Yep. Well,
Because once.
depending on
Go
how
ahead.
things go in November, assuming that's when it happens, will really determine the vibe in January.
Dynamics. Yeah.
Dynamics, yes. Let's see.
But
Go ahead.
But I'll tell you that. Well, go ahead. I'll collect my thoughts.
We have
on
a
this for
question.
second.
Can you explain what AMD? This is David Lawson. Can you explain what AMD is? I know what it stands for, but what do they do? Well, it depends on the AMD.
Well, so the Allied Masonic degrees are considered the lost degrees, or degrees that aren't regularly known within the York Rite degree structure. And there's 27 of them, and in each AMD council you can have up to 27 members. And ours is an invitation only. If you ask about it, you're probably not going to get an invitation. A lot of the others are different. They just want to fill the seats, but ours were more geared towards quality and not quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Ours is more of an educational group. But every year there's if you're a member of an AMD council, every year there's a AMD day in Waco, and all the different councils get together and they put on the different degrees. So each council takes on a degree, and what their council is known for. So ours is the Tylers of King Solomon, and we actually do our degree for every person that we bring into our council. But a lot of councils don't do that. And so the only experience they get with these other degrees is when they actually go to AMD Day and get to learn about these other degrees. But our council, we get together and we actually discuss heavy theological and philosophical conversation. The stuff that you're not going to see in any of your other Freemasonry, except maybe Scottish Rite.
Yeah. And on the other hand, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but mine is the one that I go to in Hillsboro. It's more of a lunch club, and so that's why I say it really depends on the AMD. I mean, they're very just
and you get to have your own vibe and make your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
The one that Jason recently helped charter is a cowboy tux kind of lodge. And so they wear jeans, belt buckle. They actually have a belt buckle made for their council.
Cool.
And jackets. Whereas my AMD is a tuxedo. It's a formal council, and we have dinners in private rooms of high-end restaurants and have good meal, good drink, and good discussion after our meetings.
I like that.
Our meetings are done in a lodge and then we go to the dinner, but the meeting is like 30 minutes and then we go to the dinner so that we can really discuss some good Freemasonry. Does that really answer it?
Yeah. David Lawson asks if you have to be a York Rite Mason. Yes, you do. You have to be York Rite.
Yes, you do. That's part of it. Yeah.
Roland asks where we're located at. I'm in Johnson County. I don't even know. Do they have counties in South Texas, or is it just like the Wild West out there, Dennis?
Johnson, that makes sense. Yeah, you're a Johnson. You're a Johnson, all right. I'm in Goliad County, thriving metropolis of Goliad, Texas. Population of 1,908 people
The
in a
town or the
county of
county?
seven in a county of 7,000 people.
Hmm.
So I reside in the county seat of Goliad, Texas.
Okay.
The little towns that are around us are so little that they've got maybe 30 or 40 people living in them.
Oh wow. Yeah. So there's yeah.
But those 30 or 40 people are pretty rich ranchers.
There was another question. Oh, James Williams says he just got his Master Mason degree. Congratulations, James. That's pretty awesome. That's
Very
awesome.
cool. Congratulations.
And then if you
Way to
if
go,
you do
man.
AMD, they're often associated with Knight Masons also, which is also a pretty cool group.
Yeah, if you're into that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
There's so many different groups out there. It's so funny to me. There's so many, and I'm a member of a lot of different groups, but it's just so funny to me how many feathers we can put in our cap. You know,
Yeah.
it really is. I mean, Freemasonry. If everybody wants to say that the Blue Lodge is Freemasonry, right? Well, if it was Freemasonry, we wouldn't have all these different eclectic groups to join. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll say
That's what's funny to me.
I'll say this though, and I took a long time in my Masonic journey. It's been 18 years since I got my master's, and I did York right away, and then I kind of waited for a long time before I did anything. It's probably like 17, 16 years before I did anything else.
I did the same thing.
And
Yeah.
and I'll say this. Like if you go through all these appendant bodies and side bodies, expecting, I don't know, feeling different would be the right, but expecting things just to be different, that's not going to happen, right? I would say the appendant bodies offer opportunities for you to unlock new ways that you can really work on yourself introspectively, if that makes sense. Hold on a second.
Right.
Just
Well,
like,
it's all about the circles that we're in.
yeah,
Right.
the circles that you can associate with for sure, but like look at like
Well, you make it sound pretty dirty.
Scottish Rite, for example. I mean, they tell you exactly what kind of things you should be studying. Blue Lodge does this also, and not all appendant bodies do that, but they all offer something that you can reflect on that will improve you and help you. So that's just been my experience so far. Is going through all of these appendant bodies. You're still and it sounds silly to say it, you're still the same guy, right? Doors don't magically unlock before you just because you started moving through things. However, the opportunity to advance yourself presents itself more so, I think.
What's interesting is that, and I'm going to drag us into this as well with Masonic improvement. What's interesting to me is that with these different opportunities, and I'm not looking to join every group in the world anymore. There's a couple more that I want to be a part of that I'm just waiting for.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to me is that with each one of these, you have a group of brothers to where you can expand your Masonic knowledge. Every circle has a feel and has a dynamic to it, and you can, when you get close to these brothers, you start learning different areas of life that can help you within life, right? It's not that they're going to help you get a job or help you do this or that, but you fill a different part of your cup that could not be filled by another group. And it's a lot of the reason, Roland, and I'm speaking on this so for your benefit, and also the brother from Connecticut. It's also the reason we have Masonic improvement, because a lot of brothers are in small towns like I'm in, to where the cup is really small, And so you're only going to get so much from this area. Now, I travel extensively for my Freemasonry, but a lot of brothers can't do that. And so that's why we're on Masonic Improvement, trying to create a different circle of brothers for us to get to know and to bounce ideas off of each other and to help each other through this. Because, you know, in this little town, if another brother lived here and couldn't get what they were wanting to get out of Freemasonry, they could come on and get to know us, and then get to know other brothers where they could get that cup filled.
Yeah.
And that's our whole purpose. Our whole job is to be another circle. That's why we call the people that actually purchase memberships with us through YouTube, we call them our inner circle, because we have meetings and stuff with just the inner circle and talk about things that we're not going to discuss with everybody else.
We had a really good one on Wednesday.
Yes, and we develop these relationships that carry throughout the world by doing this. And it really creates a broad spectrum to our otherwise small beam of light that we might get if we were only in our own lodge.
Yeah. So
how's that for an explanation?
You described something, Dennis, and I've talked about this before. So I live in a small town, and Johnson County, the county I live in, it's got some larger.
He's a Johnson.
It's got some bigger towns, I guess, but they're not like huge, right? Even the big towns are still pretty country. My point is,
our biggest town is like 30,000 or something like that.
My point is, when I first joined, I traveled a little bit in my district, but they're all small country lodges, right? And they all pretty much offer the same thing. And I was pretty quickly disillusioned, right? Because it was not really what I expected out of Freemasonry. And it wasn't until I started associating with different circles of Masons online, right? There was an old website I used to go to. What was it called? It's My Freemasonry Now. I can't remember what it used to be called, but it was a Texas forum for Masons, and I started associating with people there and doing my own research. Then I realized that, hey, there's a lot more to this, and so yeah, that's what this is about. Is to when I did this in the early 2000s, there wasn't that much information, right? And I think we talked about this before. Was Brother Nagy? Is that his?
Yes.
Nagy.
Yes.
He was one of the first kind of pioneers, in my opinion, as far as presenting information online, and he really kind of brought me back to the fraternity. So that's the whole point of this, is just to kind of be that light on the hill, I guess, for people that either they left and they're looking for a reason to come back, or they're interested in joining but they don't really know what they're looking for or how to go about it. That's what this is all about.
Or they're disappointed with their experience and are wondering if all of Freemasonry is like that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's just about us saying no. That's not how it is everywhere. So, keep the light on and you'll get there. You'll find your people.
So in light of that, Dennis, and I know we kind of talked about this before, but I had already thought about this before our live tonight. But
but you didn't tell me. I see.
Anyway, but I had started a book some time ago, and I haven't really.
Oh, here we go.
I haven't really finished it. No, I've decided I'm going to commit to finishing that book, because
Nice.
that's really the message of the book. I mean, it's why I left Freemasonry, the video, the book, right? So, but I'm going to expound on it some more, as far as like. But I think that's a story that needs to be told, and I think there's a lot of people out there that need to hear it, that just for whatever reason aren't being reached by YouTube or the blog or podcasts at this point, right? And so I think any way that we can reach out to these people is valuable. So I'm going to
Right.
I'm going to finish that book.
Well, that I'm in the process of getting my book together as well, and mine are all the presentations that I give to the lodges.
Mm-hmm.
So I write, for those of you who aren't regular here, I write my presentations for the lodge. So each lodge says what what they'd like for their lodge to hear, and I write based on that. So in doing this, I'm thinking, well, if these lodges need to hear this, and these brothers feel like this is the hot topic for their lodge, and there's so many of them, why not just put them into a book so that the brothers that can't get access to it can actually have access to these thoughts that I have on these different lodges. And not that my thoughts are so, fascinating or whatever, but hopefully it'll just validate people saying that, I'm not the only one that feels this way.
Yeah.
Before this show, as a matter of fact, before you, Justin, I'd like to say that I was feeling that. I was feeling like I was a lone man on an island.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when it was this show that really gave me the confidence that I have today.
Competence?
This show made me get yeah. This show really gave me the strength to be all in on the person that I am. Because a lot of times we go into lodges and we feel afraid to be that squeaky wheel or whatever, and then nothing ever happens. And so this gave me that platform to feel like, I'm okay, because I see people all over the world that feel exactly the same way as me.
Yeah. Well, hey.
And so hopefully my book will be the same.
Well, hey, you're welcome. No, I'll
write a chapter on how much I love and appreciate
I'll write your forward for you,
Justin.
I'll write your forward for
No, you won't. Bradley will. and Chris will be in on that. But you will just be the last little paragraph in the back of the book that says, I'd like to thank my dear friend Justin Jones for how little he's contributed to my life and giving me a reason to speak on incompetence and
let's see,
and despotism.
Luke in the chat, he didn't have a last name. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I was going to because we said we'll answer questions first. Brad says, did y'all go through the chairs in your first years before you moved through the appendant bodies? I did not, because my lodge at the time,
my lodge was too big.
Well, my lodge just the mentality was, once you finished your master's and turned it in, regardless of how you feel about it, their mentality was you go through the York Rite as soon as you can, and so that's what I did. And in fact, I went through the chairs in York Rite, and I sat in the Eastern York Rite before I was the worship master at my lodge, which frankly was kind of beneficial to me because I had experience with sitting in the East and doing the leadership before I moved into the Blue Lodge. I think the reason that happened was because the York Rite was a smaller, less active body than the Blue Lodge, and when I started going through the chairs, there was just way less chairs to go through in York Rite, and so by the time I had gone through all the chairs in Blue Lodge, I had already finished the chairs in York Rite. What about you, Dennis?
Now I did say a lie, I guess, because I did go into junior steward position when I became a master mason. Year after, the next year I became junior steward. But my lodge was also huge, and so it was a true line that you had to go through. It was a big one, and I personally saw it in my senior steward year. We really did in McKinney. We were serious about our elections. And I saw a brother that didn't go forward to worshipful master because he didn't perform very well as a senior warden, and they, so they did what they should do. Mm-hmm. And so it would have taken me years and years before I joined the York Rite. So I joined the next year in York Rite, but I didn't join the Scottish Rite until several years later, like 7 or 8 years later.
Our good friend Cesar Rubio has joined us in chat this evening.
Sweet.
Always good to hear from Cesar. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yes. But yeah, I went through, everybody. Yeah, the the York Rite body meets at St. John's 51 in McKinney, and so and it's a big body in McKinney. It's a big deal. So it was kind of natural for me to go through it right away. Also my mother's maiden name was York, and I thought York, right? York, cool. I got to do this. So I did that, and I enjoyed it. But I got to tell you, it wasn't what filled my cup.
So David says it's a refreshing thought. Many think it's automatic and it shouldn't be. No, and we talk about this quite a bit. I guess not recently.
Wait until you're ready.
Yeah, the progressive line serves a purpose because it teaches you things that you should know as you develop into the eventual leader of your lodge. However, if you are not learning the things you're supposed to be learning as you go, or if you're just not going, then you should not automatically advance to the next line. The lodges should be governed by the most competent and capable and dedicated leaders of that lodge, as long as they're willing and able to do it. And just putting people, think of it like a company, like a corporation. You can apply this to the grand scale also, but apply this to a corporation. If they do have a really good year, the last thing they're going to do at the end of the year is pat the president on the back, or CEO or whatever, pat him on the back, give him a certificate, and let the VP take his place every year. That's foolish, because the success of your company ultimately depends on whoever's in leadership at that point. And I mean, I wouldn't buy stock in a company like that. I would invest in a company like that. I would want to work at a company like that, because you never know what your boss is going to be like. Yeah, that's how we work. That's how we govern ourselves locally and at the state level every year. And I mean, I'll be frank. You see what happens. I mean, look at all this stuff going on this year. It's because you got a new CEO, and that happens at the lodge level too. I have a lodge that well, it was one of my lodges, and they put incompetent leadership in the East, and it's a lineup of incompetent leadership. Why? Because we walked away from a few years of competent leadership because of the progressive line, simply because it was someone else's turn, and we didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Yep.
The worst thing you can do is do it because it's your turn.
We put peace and harmony on such a pedestal that we neglect the fact that incompetent leadership creates more chaos and disharmony than just saying, sorry, you can't move forward right now. That's my 2 cents.
Yep. And it's got to be stopped when it's time. When it's proven that that leadership is not doing things that's in the best interest of the whole, it's time to make a stand.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to stop the progress of the tradition.
But ultimately, a lodge or a Grand Lodge or any organization gets what they vote for, right? And you have to deal with the consequences of that during that period of time. But you get what you vote for, but this whole 1 year, one and you're done mentality doesn't work. That doesn't work. And you give people more time to figure out what they're voting for, if that makes sense. Because if you have a great Grand Master or a great Worship Master, and they are in their position for 3 or 4 years, it gives you more time to look at the people that, and you could say, well, once you get nominated to a certain position, it's kind of a shoe-in. No, this whole progressive line idea has to go, because anyone can be nominated. Well, because how do I want to put this? Just because someone has been elected doesn't. I mean, you still vote every year, regardless if it's a automatic or not.
Well, you know what I love about Arkansas we mentioned Lucas earlier. Um, right worshipful Minton. I should start talking proper. It happens when you're friends with somebody. Um, you, right worshipful Minton. He was saying that even though
I'm shuffling cards.
he's
That's why I'm fidgeting so much. I'm shuffling.
even though he's senior deacon, grand senior deacon, they still elect from that point. I mean, from the junior deacon, from the grand junior deacon on, even though you're put in there, and because it is a progressive line from grand junior deacon in Arkansas, but even though you're put in there, it's still an election every year. So there is no guarantee throughout the whole entire time. And so I think that that's beautiful. I think that's democracy in its finest, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
But I also think that we as lodges and grand lodges have a fallacy to that, like Justin said, one and done is kind of crazy when you're talking about such a big organization. When it comes to that, if somebody's doing a good job, why not nominate them for a second year instead of pushing the next guy through?
Yeah.
You give that next guy an extra year to get ready if he's not ready. But it is a big time, so it's on a volunteer situation. I could see where it would be taxing on.
Well, then
on a
you spread your. If you look at like how fast paced everything was last year, I suspect a lot of that's because you have to cram things into a year, right? If you know you can spread that out if you're doing a good job. There's not necessarily granted there's stuff every year that we do that you need to make, but I don't think you feel like you have to cram as much within 12 months if you know that you have more time than that.
I don't know. I think that's the personality of the whole entire group of brothers that put together last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's their personality. Make it eventful, make it worth going to, put the value in there, and I think it would have continued for a whole nother year if that had happened. I would have been busy because that's just the mindset of those brothers. They, everybody wanted to make last year a success, and it was because of everybody's effort. All of the DDGMs, everybody, we were the cheerleaders for our districts. Our districts got excited. They got involved.
Yeah.
Everybody got involved because we wanted to put the value in there.
I don't think 1 year is enough time to affect change. Fortunately, it's also not really enough time to wreck everything either. Well, we'll see. But
we're going to see. We're going to see about that. we're going to see about that.
Definitely challenging that assumption, aren't we? But it's
to be continued. I can't wait until the February live that we do.
Oh yeah, but it's not enough time to affect positive change, and it's enough time to show you the potential. Like we saw the possibility, we saw the potential of what
yes.
a good year could really be like, or what Texas Freemasonry could really be like. But yeah, we have to. I don't know. I'm talking at the grand scale right now, but it also applies to local. Like you could have a lodge, you can have 5 or 6, 7 strong worship masters in a row that do a really great job, and then you put one bad worship master in there, they'll destroy all that effort.
Right.
I mean, within 1 year, they can destroy.
We almost had that hiccup in Goliad. Not my year, of course.
Yeah.
But after that, no, just kidding.
Yeah, your year.
But we had a couple of worship masters that weren't very strong, but fortunately, and this was here recently. But fortunately, we had enough momentum going, and we had already planted the seeds for long-term success to where we got through those couple of years, and now we're back on track better than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, we had it going on, but that's the whole nother topic, is that in our lodge, we actually plan together and try to, keep things going, as opposed to like our Grand Lodge example. Every year, everything's a secret because they only want to bring things out during their year so that it can be on their coattails.
Yeah.
So they can have their feathers and they can say, I did this, and that's what happens when you only have 1 year. You got guys that, they feel like they don't have enough time to do what they need to do. So instead of being team players, they just want to make it, during their year, they're going to implement this one thing.
Yeah. Justin Harishetta says, a month after he was raised, he was nominated and elected junior warden. I've seen that before. I've seen that. And I don't know how your year in the East was, Justin, but usually from what I've seen, it's not good. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have a really good leader that just fits right in. I mean, maybe that was you. But giving someone 3 years, effectively, till they go to the East is not enough time to really learn about Freemasonry or how it should operate or the law book or the customs or traditions of the fraternity.
Civil leadership is completely different than other leadership.
Yeah, I agree. And leadership in the Masonic Lodge is totally different than any other. You don't run it like a Lions Club or a Rotary or the City Council or anything like that. It's his own unique creature. James Williams says Freemasonry is about brotherhood, not just degrees and chairs. Yeah,
this is true.
Yeah.
But it's also, there's a lot of things it's about. It's hard to be too simplistic because yes, brotherhood is a big factor.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no brotherhood if you're not learning together and growing together. That's what creates the big bonds.
Yeah.
That's what creates the strong bonds, is when you've learned things together and have gone through processes together. That's what creates a strong brotherhood.
What's interesting to me is the more I study esoterics, the more it becomes obvious to me that, first of all, whoever created the degrees was very knowledgeable about esoterics. And so I'm sure the fraternal aspect plays a big role in what Freemasonry is supposed to be, but the rabbit hole goes deep. It's a deep rabbit hole, and it's about more than just brotherhood. And everything in life has an exoteric and an esoteric aspect, right? And I think if you look exoterically with an X at Freemasonry, it's about fish fries and hanging out with the guys, right?
That's fraternal brotherhood. Yeah.
But if you look esoterically at Freemasonry, at the degrees, at the verbiage we use and the symbolism, it's way deeper than just that.
It's the interpersonal relationship between the master and the apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what you are, you're always an apprentice and you're always a master to somebody.
Yeah.
So and that's what creates the strong bonds, is as you're learning and teaching what you've learned, you create bonds that creates that real brotherhood.
Yep.
The kind that's not going to break.
Daniel Dutton says he loves this. The best need to be in the East. Sometimes peace and harmony means that egos have to be in check as well. Yeah, and I've said this before. If anyone ever says that they want to be worship master, keep them out of the East.
Yeah.
Right? If someone says that they want leadership positions, they're not ready for leadership. Because if you want
we were talking about that big time last week.
Yeah, if you want it, that's to ego speaking. Right? It's a Freemasonry, in my opinion, does best under servant leadership. Serving the lodge, serving the brothers, helping them to facilitate and accomplish the goals of the lodge. And or the Grand Lodge. I mean, I remember going to an OLT and past Grandmaster Brad Billings is serving beans. Right? The best leaders are servant leaders. At least from my experience. So
the guy that I want leading me is the guy that picks up my plate after dinner.
Yep. And so the servant leaders aren't the ones that say I want that position. I'm just saying. The ego led leaders are the ones that say that's what I want.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, Caesar says fellowship is invaluable to a Masonic lodge. Hard work is crucial. High standards are a must. And so I didn't mean to really downplay
expectations.
I didn't really mean to downplay the fraternal aspect so much as I was just saying there's and I don't think that was a response to that, but I think it's something that we it's important. The fraternal aspect's important. I guess my point is like there's just more to it than that also. But yeah, I mean if you have a lodge, it doesn't matter how doesn't matter what your lodge offers if you don't have some kind of fraternal aspect, right? Because if you don't love and want to spend time with your brothers, everything else is wasteful. So you have to have fellowship. You have to have that fraternal aspect, and it has to be present before anything else can be built on. It's kind of the foundation for everything at a lodge, I think.
Hmm.
Danielle Dutton says, "How do you?" Here's a question. I'll let you answer it first, Dennis. How do you get the membership in a Blue Lodge to help overcome the mindset of the progressive line and auto promotion to Martial Master?
Mm.
I'd say education.
Education.
There you go. Say it together. 3, 2, 1. Education.
Yeah. Right? How can we couldn't have said that any? Here it's all messed up.
Yeah.
We need to get out.
You have to.
We couldn't have said that any. Go ahead.
You have to start. We are the products of our own raising, right? Not just in our homes as children, but in our lodges. So, however we are raised, whatever the culture is and the lodge that we are raised, we are going to bring that to our Masonic experiences until an idea that causes us to think otherwise is introduced. Does that make sense? So, of course, you can't answer, right? But you have to have that idea. Otherwise, you'll just go doing the same thing over and over and over because that's just how we were raised. And so, you have to introduce that idea to your brothers. You have to either provide that education or bring someone in that can provide that education to really get them to start thinking outside this progressive line box. Now, I think the progressive line serves a purpose, but I think this automation of the progressive line where we just mindlessly vote people to the next level or the next not level but next chair, we have to do away with that. Which has to go. And that may mean some people maybe get passed up. It may mean some people get pulled out of the line. But every position should be to whoever is the most capable in that position. And sometimes you have lodges where there's not enough members for whatever reason that are active to fill those positions. And so you end up with these people that are just kind of these ghosts, right? You appoint these ghost members to these positions. And I get that, but they don't advance. If they don't show up, they don't advance. And so it's okay to have someone in those positions until someone that's more active comes along. But the ultimate goal should be that you slow the line down enough that you have a full progressive line of active members. And it may take a decade. Who knows? But Freemasonry is a lifelong journey.
My turn? Okay.
Yes. Sorry. I just went off on a tangent, didn't I?
Now, no. Now it's my turn to expand. So yeah, that's all great stuff. Here's what I would say first steps are to being able to create the type of lodge that's going to actually elect properly and appropriate. The very first thing you have to do is have a meeting with your lodge, and whether you make it a past masters meeting or a full on meeting, you need to, with everybody, you need to have, but I would make it only masters and above. I'm going to say this, and I'm not trying to hurt people's feelings, but entered apprentices and fellow crafts are not full members of the lodge until they're master masons. That's when they're contributors to the lodge. Now they may, show up to volunteer for time and this and that, but until they are vested with that master mason, they're not your shareholders at that time. And I'm sorry, but that's the truth. And that's why it's good to get them through their work so they can become shareholders. But I'm talking about the shareholders and past masters. Get them together. First, you have to decide on what is your purpose of your lodge. What's your statement that you have for your lodge? What do you want your lodge to be? Until you know what that is, you cannot decide on who's going to have the skill set to put that into place. So you have to have your mission statement with your lodge. Then you have to decide on on what type of activities is the lodge going to invest in to create that culture that supports that mission statement. Once you have those two things in place, then you can decide on what type of leadership you need to get you there. And then everything you do should be training those leaders on their way to get you there to make that mission statement happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's if you're asking the mechanical um, scenarios 1, 2, 3, the points to cross off your checklist. That's what I would say would get you there, in my opinion.
And
The
to that point, Dennis and I both said this before. Also, you can't be a hero in your hometown, right? So
Right.
if that's the lodge you were raised in, if you've been there for a long time, it's going to be harder to get people to listen to you. So that's the advantage of getting speakers to come in, or either way, or strongly encourage your leadership to attend OLT. In fact, require it, because this is
well, we
something
pay
that gets
for it.
talked
We
about.
require it. We pay.
Because but these are concepts that get talked about at OLT too, regardless of how you feel
Yeah.
about it. This is not anything new, and this is not like secret information. It's just so few lodges send their leadership to OLT and things like that. So that's why so many people. I mean, that's why we offer this year round, right? Because these are ideas that granted, you can't get your whole leadership team. I mean, I'd love if you could, but you can't get them all into a YouTube live. But you could require them all to go to OLT or something as a lodge.
Yeah,
And pay for it.
we do. Yeah, we require membership to go, and we pay for it for the 101 and the 201 for each officer coming up the line.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no excuse. But in that, so that you know, since we've started that and started implementing that, now we have a full line of officers that have completed officer leadership training, and they're all planning together. They're all, they're going for the gold. They want to be a Vanguard Lodge because they've actually gone to OLT and see the value of putting Freemasonry to work. And that's how you become a Vanguard Lodge, is by putting Freemasonry to work.
There's no professional career that doesn't require continuous education.
Yeah.
Right. And so Freemasonry is a career. It's a profession. As Freemasons, we are constantly working on ourselves.
There's two different levels. Yeah.
Yeah. And to apply good leadership to the lodge requires continuing education. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point of the OLT, is to get everybody on the right page. And if you want to disrupt Masonic generations of generational poverty is what comes to mind, but it's not poverty, but generations of poor leadership
Ignorance.
at the lodge.
Generational ignorance.
Generational ignorance, if you don't call it that. It's a little harsh, but if you don't call it that, you have to start.
And it is what it is.
Yeah, you have to bring light, right? Ignorance is darkness. You have to shine light. The best way to do that is through education. And if you can't present it yourself, it's good to get people to come talk, but it's also very valuable to get them to go to OLT, because OLT will really. It's like drinking water from a fire hose. It'll introduce them to a whole lot of really important concepts that they might not otherwise get.
Another way to kick off that conversation, you go into it with the agenda that I was talking about, but to kick off that conversation, maybe you started off by asking the lodge, because the lodge has to be truthful and honest with themselves before anything's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So you ask the lodge, look at where we are today. Is this working? Do we have extra money in the bank because of what we're doing, or is it all because of fundraisers? Do we have a kept up building and extra money in the bank because of what we're doing? Or is our building looks like crap because we've been saving money for whatever reason? Yep. Because you're so afraid membership's going to dip. You won't be able to stay alive if you get rid of that. If you invest that money into your building, those are the hard questions you have to ask is, are we successful in what we're doing?
Yeah.
If we are not, then we need to change the rules of the game. If we are, then we need to look at how we can improve slightly to give us that little better edge so that we're constantly moving forward and not moving backwards. Because as soon as you stop, you start to die.
Luke says, I personally think Freemasonry is about to grow exponentially. There is a hunger for knowledge and brotherly love. We're starving as a society. It's a tried and true method to personal enlightenment. We've touched on...
This is a renaissance.
Yeah, we've touched on the concept of a Masonic Renaissance before. I think like in a garden, the conditions have to be right. If the conditions are right, and you cast the seeds, then you'll have a bountiful harvest, right? But in last year, the conditions were right. The garden was ready. It was an ideal garden. It's just the how do I say this? But this goes back to the whole progressive line thing. I think because the progressive line determines the quality of your garden, if that makes sense. If you understand my analogy, and that applies at the grand scale also. And so, yeah, we are primed for a Masonic Renaissance. And last year we had I think a lot of lodges were very successful last year. I don't think necessarily that's the case right now. But I agree. I do agree that we are primed and ready for Masonic Renaissance because we offer a lot of things that you can't get elsewhere anymore. And I think as men, we crave these things, even if we don't realize that's what we crave.
I think we are in a renaissance because we're starting to focus on the quality above quantity. I think that Justin's absolutely right that last year we saw a great year. But like I was stating earlier, if you don't continue to feed progress and look at how you can build on something instead of just shutting it down, then you'll see what's happened this year.
Yeah.
This year it was decided that they didn't like what happened last year, and it's been systematically torn apart. And this is why you have a craft that's in such disarray as it is.
Well, when you have the majority of your organization that enjoyed something, and then a leadership tells them that they were wrong for enjoying it, then that causes issues.
Yeah.
When you tell your membership that they are disconnected from the fraternity because they enjoyed it, who's really disconnected?
Right. Now, and I'll say this is why it's so important that we realize, what's going to happen this year and how many people are going to show up at Grand Lodge this year that didn't show up last year, that should have, and that should have every year before that. Because when people don't show up to Grand Lodge, here's how the system works. The Grand East, when Grand Lodge is open, when the annual communication is open, that session belongs to the West. All decisions go through the West. It's not the Grand East. It's not any of the past Grandmasters. It's nobody making decisions except for the West. That's the beauty of the vote, the democratic system. As soon as Grand Lodge closes session, the Grand Master is then tasked with making decisions for the West throughout the year. When we don't show up to make our voices heard, they're going to be made by one individual that has a few individuals telling them what to do. Their consulting team. That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's why we run into situations like this to where there's a great disconnect because we're not showing up to make sure that the Grand West has the voice. It's our own fault.
Yeah. Charles
but
Smith,
it can happen in the lodges as well.
Charles Smith makes a great point. He says, I like to think that that's one reason for most lines starting at the steward's chairs, to reach you, to teach you to be in service to your brothers and lodge, and develop and nurture Yeah, I think that's the exact reason.
Very
Like,
first.
yeah, that's the.
Very first, you serve your lodge
There's a reason that's one of the first lessons you learn as an officer in the lodge.
in the most humble position.
Yep, yep. Luke says, uh, esoteric occult aspect of Freemasonry and black craft is what gravitates me to a lodge. What books can you guys recommend for beginners, folks on the edge? No,
Nice.
I would say if you
Secret
like,
teachings of all ages.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If you want just like a catch-all, kind of a primer. The great thing about Secret Teachings of All Ages is it covers everything, and then once you read that book, you could decide what was most interesting
You
to
can go
me.
into
Yeah,
anything.
what do I want to
Yeah.
pursue from there? I think it's a great primer. It's a great introduction to most esoteric aspects. So I'd get that. Secret Teachings of All Ages. I don't know where mine's at.
I would I would say another one, if you're only involved in Blue Lodge, another one I highly recommend is Esoterica with a K, Esoterica, by Albert Pike. That's going to give you a better understanding of different theology about Blue Lodge.
I think Manly P. Hall is more digestible. No, I wouldn't say more digestible. I think he's more accessible
I
to
think
a lot of
it's
people.
I think it's I think it's very relevant and very good information on
Yeah,
esoterica though.
yeah. I have read Esoterica, but I read some Pike, and he can be hard to follow. But if you're comfortable with Pike and the way he wrote, then yeah, go with Esoterica. But I would still
Well,
recommend Secret Teachers of All Ages.
let me
It's very
say it this
valuable.
way also. Let me say it this way also though. In anything that you do, don't just read it. Digest it.
Yeah.
So read a little bit every day and digest it. Don't just read it like a book, it's not a novel. None of this is a novel, and there's too many brothers out there that read like a novel.
Yeah.
That's not how you do this on in any of the esoteric journey that you take. Uh, Divide it up
Hmm.
and make it an actual digestible format for learning.
I
That way you can really take it in.
I would also say, and this is something I'm starting to do again, is get yourself a notebook and take notes as you read. Take notes as you read, especially with esoteric things, because they all tie back together. And so, if you really want to be sure that you remember something, write it down.
Yeah.
Write it down.
I usually
Take
start
notes.
writing a paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and it could start off however you want. It could start off with notes, or you could just write a paper, or you could take notes and turn it into a paper. But there's definitely value in writing something down. And from an education perspective, reading is one way, but the more ways that you revisit concepts, the more likely you are to retain that information. Right. So read it,
Yeah.
write it, like Dennis is talking about, teach it,
Yeah.
and as you do these things, it will further cement what you have learned.
Yeah, you had mentioned earlier about people getting speakers to go to lodges. We both speak at other lodges, and my goal though, and what I tell a lot of these lodges is my goal is not to be your speaker. My goal is to, excite you enough that you want to become the speaker. That your lodge wants to start taking turns with people writing papers and presenting them to the lodge so that your lodge becomes intelligent instead of just listening to other people make intelligent statements. Your lodge starts to become stronger as they educate themselves in order to educate their brothers. That's when you're teaching, that's when you're really learning this stuff, because you really start taking it. And this is why I write a paper, because I take it from the hard facts, the data, into a digestible format, and I put circumstance to it to help somebody else understand what I'm trying to put across. So when you shift it into data to actionable processes, that's when you really start to take it in and understand the craft. And that's also why it's good to hold on to your books and read it again later, because you'll get a different thought from that same subject later.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, we're approaching an hour and a half, Dennis. Do you have any final thoughts?
you're a
Or
you're a millennial that sleeps too much.
hey, I'm still. I don't know if you can tell from my voice, but I don't know what I caught, but this is like
Called allergies,
no, it's
man.
not allergies. I hope it's not allergies because it sucks. I never felt anything like this. When was it? Last Sunday I was sick, and we didn't record Wednesday. No, Wednesday was because of my son's birthday. I think. I don't know, but it's been
Oh,
almost
he
a week
makes
and a half now.
excuses because he's millennial.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but I still kind of have it in my throat, and I'm tired, but I also have work in the morning, unlike some people. So,
Hey, I work
do you
at
want
some point.
you want to do final thoughts, or do you want me to go first this time?
You go first because I need to collect my thoughts.
Sure. Well, I need to collect my thoughts. I would say anyway to kind of recap on everything that we talked about. Um, your lodge culture is something that can be shaped, right? And if there's no conscientious efforts, no intentional decisions being made to shape that culture, it's just going to be whatever it is, right? It's not going to have any direction. And so, if you want to start seeing changes in your lodge, if you want to start seeing a more intentional progressive line, if you want to start seeing education or better meals or higher quality degrees or just improve the quality of the building itself, you have to start being the change agent in your lodge. You have to start pushing for those cultural changes. And here's the thing, just saying you want to change something might eventually change something, but you have to work on baking that into the culture. And that is done through intentional and repeated. Well, let me put it this way. Someone was mentioning earlier in the chat about lodges having mission statements, and I think that's very important. I think it's very valuable to have mission statements and visions. But if you never look at it again, it's for nothing, right? And I've been to a lodge. I think it's Fort Worth Lodge. They have it right by their door when you walk in. That's great, but I would take it a step further. The school district that I work at, every day for announcements, every day. One of the first things they share after the pledges and the moment of silence is the mission statement of the school. And if you want to start baking these new ideas, it happens by revisiting it. And I would say create a vision or a mission statement or whatever you want to call it for your lodge. And every opportunity you get, every member of that lodge should be able to repeat it by heart. I mean, when you open the lodge, before you have meals, before you have an activity, whatever. But that is how you start not just creating. Let me back up. That's how you create cultural changes. It's by introducing ideas consistently over time. And because here's the thing, if you are the change agent in your lodge by yourself and you leave, or maybe you get sick for a few months or something, as soon as you turn your back and as soon as you're not rolling that boulder uphill, it's going to roll back down. So you have to create that cultural change where everybody has the same expectations and everybody has the same goal and everybody holds each other accountable to that standard, so that even if they lose that main change agent for whatever reason, they're still pushing forward because it is so ingrained into the identity of that organization that there's no going back. So all these things we talked about, everything we talked about tonight, it all goes back to lodge culture. And you have to start working on creating that culture in your lodge that is geared towards what you want to see out of Freemasonry. And there's other ways you can do it, and I recommend you spend some time researching how to build culture, because there's several ways to do it, but you have to get buy-in, and the best way to have the buy-in, aside from having a shared goal, is getting people educated in the same way, getting them excited about the same things. Every time I see wardens and worship masters, particularly new ones at OLT, they're excited. They're excited about their ideas, and they're excited to bring it back to lodge. But if you just send one guy to OLT, he's going to lose that excitement real fast because he's going to come back to lodge with all these ideas, and they're going to tell him that's not how they've always done it. But if you get all your leadership, go to OLT, build that into the culture of your lodge where you understand that if you want to step in leadership, you will be going to OLT. You might not create huge change the first year. You start building momentum the second year, and by the third year, you're going to have your leadership team that not just a leadership team, but people on the sidelines that have bought in. They have that buy-in. They have seen what can happen. They have been educated on how lodge should run, and you're going to start to see over time as you get these guys educated that the lodge is going to work more like it should. And if you combine that with the other things that we talked about, you're going to set your lodge on course for success in the long term. That's my take.
Man, good thing we started at an hour and a half. Usually it's me.
Yeah, I'm long-winded tonight. I don't know why.
You just primed the pump, buddy. All right. So my takeaway for tonight: time. The very first thing that we all have to come to terms with is time is the most valuable asset we have in our life. The scary thing is that we don't even know how much time we have, and we devalue it so often and lose our sight on what's important because we've become accustomed to devaluing our time and letting others devalue our time. The first thing we have to decide is this a value to me to take time away from my child and my wife or my business or my own the things I love to do? Is this of great enough value for me to spend my time doing it? Do I value hanging out with guys that are going to sit around, scratch themselves, and tell fart jokes? No. I'm not going to waste my time doing that. I'm not going to waste my time sitting around with people who like to make fun of other races and creeds and the same and of the same nature. I'm just not going to do it. Am I going to sit around wasting my time with people that have a victim mentality? Not me. I work hard for everything that I have. I've had to do it several times over because I have lost. And I'm under the gun to make sure that everybody has everything I want them to have before I die. So if I'm going to spend time in my organization trying to build it up, trying to reclaim my great grandfather's legacy that has been torn to crap by people who didn't value time, thought they had all the time in the world. If I'm going to waste my time doing that, then everybody around me has to have the same attitude. If they don't, I'm going to go somewhere else. I don't have time for people. I don't have time for ignorance. I don't have time for people who devalue their own time. People with an ignorant mentality or a generational poverty mentality. I'm not that guy. I don't have time for that. Maybe that's what we have to get across to our brothers first. And all the brothers that are sitting on the sidelines complaining about moving forward and doing this and that, and a lot of them are our mentor generation. Ask them. Do you feel like you have time to sit around and wait for us to be great again? And I do not like people using that statement in regards to the red hats that went around when I say it. So don't make any jokes like that. But we only have so much time. Do you want to spend it sitting around and watching something die with yourself? Or do you want to build up a legacy for others?
Yeah.
So that there will be something for your sons and your grandsons and your great grandsons. Same thing at home. Are you working just to watch the grass grow? Or are you not working just so you can watch the grass grow? Are you working to make sure that your kids can go to the best schools and have the best opportunities in their life? I am not the guy that's going to be proud of just where I am. I'm always going to push forward. I'm always going to push those around me. Because if you're not moving forward with me, you're moving backwards, and I'm going to get out of that circle. I don't need that in my life because my time is too valuable. You can call me an elitist. You can call me all kinds of things. But don't call me a waster of people's time. When I get on this show, the things that I say are intentional. Everything I say is intentional to help somebody in some way, to build up the next guy in line. I want you to be the best person you can be. That's all I want. That's all I hope for out of this. I want your lodge to be the best lodge it can be, so that we can create positive change around this world like we're supposed to, instead of sitting around watching the grass go and watching our beautiful fraternity and all the esoteric teachings that we have fall to shit because we wasted time. I'm sorry I'm so serious about this, but let's get on to a lighter note. So this weekend, I took my daughter fishing, and she caught every fish except for one. She couldn't finish reeling all of them in, but she caught every one. So when I talk to anybody about it, I let everybody know she's a great fisherman. She caught every fish. She caught a drum that was bigger than her, weighed more than her. She couldn't even pick it up. It was, and for people who aren't saltwater fishers, a drum is good in saltwater. It's not in lake water. It's good in saltwater. She caught a drum that was 32 inches. Huge fish. Why do I say that she caught them all? Because I've already been there. I've already caught my fish. It's time for me to build her up, build her confident, make her strong, so that she can get everything out of life that she wants and deserves. So all the mentor generation out there, be mentors. Build them up. Build up those around you. If you're not the apprentice to God, you're not worthy to be a mentor to somebody else. Stay humble and build up those around you. That's our job. That's where our time is best spent. So from this past master to all you other past masters, be intentional with your time. Build those up around you so that everybody gets the value that they deserve out of this life. This one and only life we get, that's so precious, that can end in a minute. Don't waste everybody's time. We love you. We're grateful for all that you do for us, to keep us going and giving us this platform, so that hopefully one of you brothers that's out there on an island knows that you're not alone. We're here. There's more like us. You'll find your people. Stick with us and you'll find your people, because they're everywhere.
By the way, real quick, Dennis, I noticed your hat.
Yeah.
What is the square root to the answer?
What?
What is the square root of the answer?
Oh my God.
Deuces, everybody!
No, if you weren't such a millennial.
We're out.